So, well, I guess not everyone showed up that registered to do it, so I guess it's just kind of one-on-one. So, um,
How many people registered?
well, it was four for this session. So there's more for the next one. So, but anyway, well, this is just a Q&A session. So, do you have any questions?
No, I don't really, John. I was sort of thinking, I'll just listen in for a while to other people's questions, see what I can learn. Because
Okay.
I've only ever used the program sort of very briefly, and that was about a year ago. So I thought I need to get back into it. And
Okay. Well, for first, everything. Well, let me start sharing my screen. Everything comes from your tree and Family Tree Maker. I mean, probably one of the big things is just kind of, yeah. Let's see. Well, this one I don't make too many books from, but this one I know everyone is dead in this particular tree. This is kind of like a one place tree I use for Dunn County, Wisconsin.
right.
So anyone that we do research for. So even though some people are here in New York and others are elsewhere, but
Yeah.
um,
I'm from Australia actually, but yep.
yeah, I figured it this morning at this time there weren't going to be too many people from the U.S.
Yeah.
But I'm an early riser. I mean, it's just past 4:30 in the morning for me. So, but
Oh God. No, it's very civilized, 7:30 in the evening here.
yeah. So probably the big thing is to be consistent on how you enter, especially if you start using the description fact,
All right.
because that all goes into uh, how it prints out. Like say like burial information. Some people will put the cemetery name in the burial description. I personally prefer it in the place name section, but uh, different people do it different ways. Just be consistent.
Yeah, I see.
Uh,
Yep.
because let me start launching Family Book Creator. Um, because probably the one things where people say, it kind of comes out funny. You can tweak how each fact type displays with the possible exception of like birth and marriage and death. I mean, those are kind of fixed ones.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
What I've tended to put in, say, a birth description is the actual record number. And then if I know, not so much in the birth, maybe more baptism,
yeah,
I'll put the church name if it's, if I know it, if it's in the baptism record.
yeah, yeah.
That's the
Because see,
kind of
I'll,
thing
I'll
I've
I'll
done.
tend to put like maybe the godparents or sponsors, depending
Yeah.
upon the religion in that.
Oh, I
Uh,
see. Yep.
but anyway, whenever I put stuff in there, I always think, okay, how is this going to print out?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because the
that's right.
vast majority of people are just going to see the books you create and charts.
Yeah.
They're not going to see it how it is in Family Tree Maker. You
No.
might have occasional people, if they ask, "Oh, how are we related?" or something like that. You can whip it out, but open up
Yep.
the tree.
Yep.
But anyway, like on baptism, there's four places to check because primary, partner, the child, enlist,
Mhm.
with main section, and then no main section.
Right.
Uh, the difference between these two is like how the children are listed in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, with main section means that they are going to be listed elsewhere in the book with their spouse, their children.
Right.
No main section means, okay, they're not listed anywhere else. They don't, maybe they never married, uh, or they didn't have children. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they're only listed with their parents as the child.
Right.
So in this one, you're going to want a lot more of the facts printed than say with the main section, because like here I just do, basically birth, death, and
Yeah.
name, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely no notes. Uh,
Yeah.
it's usually set settings in here. This is how people will say, well, stuff keeps repeating and stuff like that. And it's usually because it's this stuff. It's when they're listed with their parents and then when they're listed with their family. So, but anyway, like baptism fact, it's you'll do a narrative, in FBC style, that's family book, or family tree maker style. Because in family tree maker, you can customize the sentence as well.
All right.
And so you might have a little bit more flexibility. So like, let me just, you go here, edit, manage facts. Here's like the baptism fact. You can bring up the properties. And then so it says, okay, person was baptized on date, in place, description. And here's an example. John Doe was baptized on 22 July in,
Yeah.
and then so if you'd want to change that to, well, maybe you don't want the description displayed at all, because, like say, like on a birth fact, where you got the register number. Do you want that to print out in the book? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you don't,
Probably not.
you could just remove that, and then so then it'll just say is baptized when and where,
Yeah.
So but you have to be consistent, because if
Yeah.
you do the register numbers for some and others, maybe like on
Yeah.
some, it's like if I get the birth announcement, oh, okay, the child born at this time, they were this weight, this long, you can get the birth fact to display that. But then
That's
if
right.
others, you got just a register number where some of them you would want that printed, some you wouldn't.
No. Yeah. You don't always have to do that. Yeah.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
But and in those cases where something is you may want to put that over in the fact note, because you can do this and there's a note section for any fact.
Yeah.
So maybe if there is something you would want to print, maybe put that in that fact note and you can have the note print, or put what you don't want printed in the note section. Or and sometimes what I'll do, for sure I don't want to, is maybe then I'll even make it a private note.
Yeah.
Because by default the private stuff won't print.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can overwrite that too. So
Yeah.
but now back to Family Book Creator. So now, however you tell it, like the baptism fact, say, okay, let's just say I want that in Family Tree Maker style. Well, now if you go over to the partner section, well, you can have it different, but typically you'd want that the same. So you'd have to change it here, and then likewise over in the no main section as well.
Yep.
And if you aren't exactly sure, what settings, say maybe you did some, where, okay, I don't want to include the fact note. What you can do is you can copy the fact type options and then do it. And then what you can do is, okay, now you can paste it for all baptism facts. So however you change it for one of these, you can change it, so here I told fact note excluded. So now over here for partner it is in here. And here it's excluded too, even though I'm telling it not to print that. But that is one way you can copy it over, so that they're all the same. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And then likewise, just do a small book. Sometimes I've even had people, if you want to do it in one fell swoop, is like take one person, or maybe even just create a dummy person. Like here I'll just create a dummy child.
Yeah.
Just something so you can easily delete later. And then on here, maybe just go here and add, okay, I'm gonna add a baptism fact. You can add, each one, birth, maybe you got a confirmation, maybe, death, basically all of the facts types. And then you can even just start experimenting, just put in today's date. In the place, like your, say,
Sydney, New South Wales.
huh?
Sydney, New South Wales.
No.
Put the next one down. Sydney, New South Wales. Up a bit. Up again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then, so if you'd want to experiment, or like register number,
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
You could even add other birth facts and then baptism, just to enter how you typically enter in the information. And then do the report for that one person.
Yep.
And then you can see how everything displays. And then, one person, it's not going to take long to generate the book.
Yeah.
And then that way, then you can also then, tweak the sentences how you want them and stuff like that. It takes not even a minute to generate the book. More if you got a bunch of media, but I say concentrate on getting the facts right first. Because usually when you first do it in the draft, usually on the photo album, I just say, just turn off the photo album.
Right.
And don't worry about that yet.
No.
And then, because usually when I'm doing a book, I'm going to be, for next summer, I'm going to be looking at printing out and having professionally printed 2 family history books, because we're going to be having 2 different reunions back to back.
All right.
One's going to be on Saturday, the other will be on Sunday.
Right.
So, and I know just from the past, the most time gets on the media.
Yep.
Because what media you want to print, which media you don't want to print.
Yep.
And then what size. So okay, well, this picture should be before that one, or vice versa. And sometimes just looking at the paper, maybe you got a picture you want bigger, well, then you got a smaller picture just all by itself, followed by another big picture. Well,
yeah,
you're gonna have a lot of blank space. So it's like, okay, let's see if I can move some other little pictures by that one, or vice versa.
So there's a lot of extra decisions to make.
Yeah, so it's,
yep,
you can do countless revisions just on media placement. So
yeah,
but on this, this type, this tells what type of media will get printed, you know, items linked to a person, linked to a relationship, you know, that could be a marriage fact. It could be, you can have just there is actually a relationship notes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's something I haven't done. I haven't put my marriage photos as against the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you add it, that is kind of neat because you can add it where the picture will show between the couples. Have you downloaded the Family Book Creator Users Guide?
Yes, I have actually. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Just while we're on that, say the marriage photo, you might have the bridesmaids as well. Can you link it to them as well at the same time?
Yeah, you can link a photo to as many people as you want. So you can have like the same photo linked like to the marriage factor labeled to print as you want it as the center. I'm trying to think what that fact type is called, or media category is. I keep this list handy just for this reason. Yeah, because that's photo album. Oh, Family Chart Center. Yeah, that's how you do that. And that you just do by assigning the media categories. Let me, yeah, that Zoom toolbars covering things up for me. Categories, media. Yeah, so you'd add this category to it. And if you haven't, if you don't want to add in these categories by hand, in the files section of the Family Book Creator group, there is, well, you can, yeah, there's this FBC categories 2017.ftmd. It's a family tree backup file, but you can download it, restore it, and then let me yeah, here I'll open it. And all it does is it's got one person and one media item. So you can just take and merge this person, and I even named this person to be deleted. And it's got just a generic, it's just got just a generic picture. And that's even just called FBC Dear Ancestor. So you can import it. It'll bring this one person. It has these custom facts that Family Book Creator will use. And the important thing is that this media item has all these media categories. So I'll bring all these media categories over with it. So that'll just save you the hassle of having to type it to manually enter them in. And then once you import them, then you can just delete this picture and delete this person. So they won't stay in your tree, but those media categories and fact types will remain.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So, and then maybe some of them, you know, you may not use because it's like I don't use all these different photo album sizes. And actually, these can be anything, you know, this number, you know, there's 10, 15, 20, you know, up to 9. I mean, these can be really any number from 10 to 100. So you could have photo album 23% full width or 95% full width. And
Okay.
so you can create others, but so um, let me go back to this one. So yeah, so we kind of, now these four are all basically the same with the partner. I mean, the only difference between primary and partner is the partner has all the shared facts.
Yep.
That's where they have the marriage fact, divorce fact,
Yep.
which isn't on the primary or and the children.
Yep.
Um, uh, One common thing people get confused about is this include and exclude filter.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some people say, "Oh, well, I want to include everything," like my cemetery pictures. Well, an include without an exclude really doesn't do anything. Because really for including, that's where this first section here, this include all. This tells
Yep.
it
I
what
see.
type of media you want to print.
Yeah, because you've already put that in the fact, haven't you?
Yeah.
Cemetery.
Now the exclude filter would be okay, maybe okay, I do want that, but really I don't really want all these census images. So if
Yep.
you categorize people with the census, uh, you know, they won't print. But then you might say, well, I don't want all the census images, but maybe I want one or two census images because
Mm.
maybe they do. You could keep them labeled as a census, but you could say, okay, but include the ones that maybe well, I don't have a specific, but maybe say, okay, but that's maybe I also got labeled to say a document or something.
Mm-hmm.
So even though if it's labeled a census, but it's also labeled a document, then those items will print, because
Oh, I see.
basically this include will override what's in the exclude.
Yep.
So that's what that's for. Usually what I will do that for is like usually a lot of times I'll export, I'll just say, this photo is nice. I'm kind of glad I got it. Maybe like um I just got, for instance, my great grandfather's will and probate records.
Yep.
Uh, it's interesting to read, but do I really want to print that out in the book?
No, probably not the whole thing.
Yeah, maybe just the will or something, not necessarily all the probate. So
Yeah.
I'll just put them in a category like do not print.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then so whatever I put in, and this is a custom category I just created. But then,
Mm-hmm.
if there is something that I do want to print, then I'll maybe create another category, say okay to print or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that will override it. Or I could just remove the do not print. Usually what I'll do is like, well, especially when I do those books for those two family trees. Uh,
Mm.
these reunions are both on my mother's side, but one's from her
Right.
the Waller side, and one's from
Mm-hmm.
her Hall side, her
Right.
mom's
Yep.
side and dad's side.
Yep.
Uh, well, I've got pictures, with my mom and then dad. Well, I've got pictures of my dad with his siblings and cousins. Well, people that look at the book on, my mom's side, sure, me and my siblings and stuff like that, we wouldn't mind seeing those pictures of my dad and those, but I'm going to be doing books on my dad's side of the family anyway.
Mm.
So they'll be there. The people that would be looking at, my mom's cousins on her side of the tree really don't care about my dad with his mom or his siblings and cousins.
Yep.
So I'll do an exclude filter, of like Fossbender, and then I can also do between Waller and Hall. If I'm doing the Hall book, I'll also maybe exclude the Waller family,
Yep.
and those pictures with my mom and her Waller cousins, I'll label them as Waller, um, and those with mom and her Hall cousins, I'll list those as Hall. So
Right.
so
Yeah.
then that way you're not when I save the when I do those bucks, then I just have to change what filters I include and exclude. So
Yeah.
uh and then likewise, you can save your settings. So it's like, I've got a variety of settings. So I'll save them, because here it's like, okay, here I'm doing a Hull book. Here's my Hull
Mhm.
settings.
Yeah.
Fjellstead, Fossbender, here's the Waller, and I'll have those. Let me just load it.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. So you don't have to work it all out again.
yeah. No, okay, I haven't done it for this one yet, so I've got the
Mm.
do not, but
Yep.
um, because this is yeah, that's the Waller. Because that will also change the title page and maybe your dedication page.
Yep.
Um, yeah, main part. Yeah, so Waller, let's see. Oh yeah, those fact types aren't here because I'm not doing my family tree, so those categories don't exist in this particular tree.
Right. Okay. Yep.
If I'd load up my main tree, then those categories would show up.
Yep.
Um, um, so that's just one time saving thing. Is to label the pictures of like yourself and your cousins on the various lines, and it all depends upon what type of book. If you're planning on doing I didn't want to exit. If you're doing like a relatives book, it probably really does it. You probably wouldn't utilize that, but most of mine I'll do either descendants or ascendants books. Um, Descendants or ancestors, or I'll make a combination of the two
Yeah. Yep.
because I've done and there's videos on here on how you can create a combination book where ancestors and descendants of
Oh,
uh,
okay. Yep.
and basically what you do is you create two or three books and then in Word you can merge them together. And it seems
Mm-hmm.
complicated, but it really isn't. Um, it really isn't that difficult because Word does all the heavy lifting.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
because the table of contents and like the name and place indexes, they're all generated fields. So Word actually takes care of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then in the document, you have all these family book creator creates all these things. Okay, this is table of contents entry. Okay, this is a name index entry. This is a place name. So you can combine the two, three books together. And then
Yeah.
likewise, the new table of contents will generate the new place names. And,
Yeah, that's
um,
pretty impressive.
it handles all that for you.
Yeah,
So,
well, that'd take you months if you did it manually.
yeah, it really is. Probably about the only thing you would have to be worried if you do the standard like introduction. Yeah, it generates the statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once it generates the statistics, it's like on the per book. So if you do an ancestors and a descendants, you're gonna have two different statistics.
Mm.
Uh, so you can't either don't put in the statistics because they won't be right because they'll only be for like part of the book.
Yeah.
Or I have done a book, where if it's say the ancestors and descendants, it's kind of a pain to do, but you kind of have to export your tree with just your ancestors and descendants, so all the people are in there. You do you just tell it to generate an alphabetical family register, so it just lists everyone in your tree. Uh, and not that you care about the book itself, but if in the introduction it does the statistics, you can copy and paste that one paragraph, you know. So if you do want it, but
Yeah.
that's kind of being a little pedantic, but
Yeah.
um so that would be another book, even though all you're gonna do is copy over this one category, for that statistics that it generates. So um
So you must have spent a lot of time on your tree itself, getting it all organized so that you can then put it into Family Book
yeah,
Creator.
because because there are certain things. It's like I found when I generated the book. It's like certain things, and that's the biggest thing for me. I found is the inconsistency on how stuff
Mm.
printed. Like
Yeah.
one thing I always use, like if I know the cause of death,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's heart attack, cancer, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd typically enter it and almost invariably I'd capitalize the first word, capital CANCER.
Right.
Well, when it prints as a sentence,
Mhm.
it'll be the standard thing.
Doesn't look
Well, the
right.
cause of death was cancer with capital C.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
No, doesn't look right, does
okay.
it? Yeah.
So when I go back and so I had to go back and for cause of death, rather, like that,
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
okay, I had to go back and make it lowercase, you know,
Yeah.
and then do all that, but and that's kind of where like these filters can be handy because you can filter in any fact, like cause of death,
Oh, I
um,
see. Yeah.
any data just exists. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this, okay, here's all the people, this, well, like I said, this one's a small one, but
Yeah.
okay, so here, go here,
Oh, okay.
uh,
So
you
you can
know,
find them reasonably quickly. Yeah.
stroke, pneumonia, you can at least go through
Yeah.
them here and then,
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
you know, so I love the filters and color coding
Yeah.
and Family True
Yeah.
Maker,
You've talked about the filters on the Facebook site, but I haven't used it much, but yeah, I need to learn to use it better.
yeah, you can do so many filters.
Yeah.
Um, I have found that if you do a lot of like really extensive ones, that can slow down your tree. If you got a tree, like my main tree is about 27,000 people because I've got a lot of extended branches in it.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm building out trees for all the, spouses of my nieces and nephews
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and because, well, because I don't have any kids, so it's like I don't know who is going to take over for me when, the time
Yeah,
comes in 20 years or whatever,
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and I know, so it's like I'm starting to build out some of those and asking the questions because it's like when I first did it, it's like I got hooked. I mean, I've only been doing this for about 12 years, maybe. 13, 12, no, 12. Uh, and it's like, I got shortly, I got hooked on it, and it's like, oh, I wish I would have started 20 years earlier because there's people I'd love to talk to about this stuff. I didn't think of
Yeah.
at the time, but they're no longer
No,
here,
well, everyone says that. Everyone has that problem.
Yeah, I'd love to talk
When
to
you're a
my,
child and a teenager, when you're a child and a teenager, you never think to ask older people anything about their
yeah,
lives. They're just older people. You don't kind of think
yeah,
of them having
yeah,
backgrounds
I'd
and
love to talk to my great uncle Gene again. It's like he had so much knowledge on the Fossbender side, but even
Mm,
as you find stuff, even my uncle, my dad's brother,
mm.
it's like I've contacted him countlessly, but as I find out new things and tell him stuff, then it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and there's some stuff I found out because I needed to know who my I always thought I knew where my second great grandmother was, Gertrude Fossbender.
Mm,
I thought I'd found her death certificate, blah blah blah. She died in like 1898. Well,
mm.
after my dad retired and my folks kind of started downsizing, they said, "Well, would you like the family Bible?" And I said, "Well, yes, please." And then once I got it, because I knew in the section there was some family history stuff, especially on the Fossbender side, which that information can kind of be sparse and few between. Well, here it had listed Gertrude Stoller, that was her maiden name, and it said she
Mm.
died like June 1934 in Sauk
Oh,
City.
oh my
And it's
God,
like,
totally different.
well, 1898, 1934, that's a huge discrepancy. So,
Certainly is.
and so I looked for Gertrude Fossbender all over, Sauk City, couldn't find any information on her. I finally came across a troop transport log from her youngest son, Leo Fossbender, and listed this Gertrude Lodge in Sauk City, in like 1914 or was it well, whenever World War One ended.
Mm,
Uh, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. But then I was like, okay, I wonder if this Leo Fossbender is the Leo Fossbender who I think it is. So I happened to just ask my uncle, it's like, do you know if your great uncle Leo, or I guess it was just, yeah, great uncle, if he was in World War One? Well, here he sent me back this picture he had of Leo in his World War One uniform,
mm.
and he is even able to, and he had some other uh, paper or something, so he was even able to verify his military ID number,
All
which
right. Yeah.
matched up to that troop transport log. So, aha, this is the person. Uh, and then looked for Gertrude Lodge, couldn't find her, but there was a Gertrude Lodi, Lodde. And I thought, okay, maybe that was, well, it turned out that was just a typo on that troop transport
Mm,
log. So it was Gertrude Lodi. And here then I found out, yes, she had remarried. I
right.
mean, because her husband was 40 when he died. So and
Yeah.
she was like 38.
Yeah.
Uh, and I found the marriage record, and here her oldest son, Henry Fossbender, was actually a witness to the marriage because he was like 18
Ah,
at the time.
yeah. Yeah.
And then they had a son named Martin, so Martin Lodi, and then told my uncle this, and then he said, "Oh, so that's who Martin Lodi is." I can remember my grandparents talking about him, and I just thought he was a friend of the family. I didn't realize, he was family.
It was a relative.
So I was like, you just these people and relatives, you just gotta ask them the right questions, and
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of the stuff they know, and but
Some people are very vague about their relatives too.
yeah, yeah, and some people just don't know or think they don't know. It's
No. Well, they just know of this person or they've met them, but they don't really understand, how they
mhm.
belong. But they're not curious about it either, as I've always been curious, but other people aren't. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really want to know?
we're
Oh, okay.
yeah, and we're all related in some way. It's uh,
Yeah.
I read an article where it says, mankind's only been here for so long that they said we're all probably at least 33rd cousins. So, so you could be my 33rd cousin,
Yeah, yeah, probably am.
but, it's, you know, so, but otherwise,
Yeah. Well, I can see that what I need to do is just make a really small, basic book and then look at how it comes out and then go back and
yeah, yeah. That's why it
standardize all
says,
my entries.
start with like just
Yeah.
one person or maybe just
Yeah.
one or two generations.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even if say, okay, okay, I've got this wall reunion coming up, I want to do stuff, you can tell it to do no descendants, but rather than all generations, just go from say
Yeah. Yeah.
0 to 1, the
Yeah.
counts the home person as generation 0,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'll always default to whoever you are on in when you start Family Book Creator. So
Yeah.
here I'm on this Martha Staub, so that's who it is. You can either select the person here or say, oh, I don't want her, I want, maybe their oldest son here, Richard,
Hmm. Yeah.
now if I launch it, now this book will be based off Richard. I mean, you
Yeah.
can manually select them here, okay, I want it to be Irene, or,
Yeah.
I just find it's just easier, just be on the person in Family Tree Maker than launch Family
Yeah.
Book Creator.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then you don't have to worry about it. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I mean, I've been adding stuff to my tree now for quite a number of years, and of course, you gradually learn more as you go. So
yeah.
sometimes
Oh, and
the early
that's,
entries aren't very standardized. I got better as I got on.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's also kind of why I like one big tree, and because yeah, over the years it's like, yeah, I have done stuff. It's like, well, like with that cause of death fact, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
so here I
Yeah.
went over to this one tree I did for my girlfriend, and here I was gonna start doing one, and then I realized it's like, oh yeah, duh, I've got to change the cause of death and da, 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 and this and that, and
Yeah.
so. And here I found out that even if I want to, I could merge my girlfriend's tree in with mine because I'm related to her son-in-law.
All right.
You know,
Yeah.
because I happen to be doing this branch, and then I just happen to come across this couple that on my tree, I'd been doing research on, like a
Mm.
day or two prior, and
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, I'm like fourth cousins or fourth cousin once removed with her son-in-law. So, but
Yeah. Oh, well, now
anyway,
you've got one big tree, her and you.
yeah.
That's handy.
So, so I could merge them if I wanted to, um, but yeah, that's big thing is like consistency of entering because it will show up.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's where it really feels, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I've also gotten into the habit of uh, let's see, this tree will probably have it, where I'll put in, well, yeah, see, even this one, it's like instead of just this is okay. Oh, what is this? No filter untitled. Oh, this I might. Oh, I was probably just goofing around with that one, but anyway. But oh yeah, well yeah, this I've just been putting in blanks, and usually I'll do blank blank like that.
Yeah, yeah,
For
yeah. I've been
people that
doing
I
that.
don't know, usually it's
Yeah,
this is because I knew where they were born, her parents,
yeah,
but usually it's like in typical more of the husband, it's like they document him, and then William had these kids, and they don't really mention who the wife is, and
no, no,
so
she's
I'll
not
put
in
in
there.
like the underscores like this, and
Yeah,
then that, because otherwise family book creator will do like unknown first name or unknown last name, and
yeah,
this way it won't do that. So, but um,
yeah, yeah. I learnt that from the Facebook site to use that
yeah,
underscoring. I didn't really understand what it was all about before, but now I do.
yeah. The
Yeah,
nice
so I
thing
went.
about doing the underscores is that if you ever do find it out, maybe at a
Mm,
reunion or something, and you got like the
yeah,
book, well, here then you got spots you could actually write it in, and just make
yeah,
sure you get it entered into your tree later. And
yeah. Yes, I did
um,
change all those. I noticed some people do question marks and things like that, but that's going to look weird.
yeah, so so well, are there any other questions you might have, or it's
Yeah. No, that's all I can think of at the moment. I'm not sure I'll have a million more once I start, but
oh yeah, well, like I said, we're always here, and and I don't know, I think this is the oh, I don't know, is this the fifth Q&A session, or is it
yeah,
sixth? So it's like we do these periodically, so
yeah. I found the Facebook site for Family Tree Maker is good. I think you've
yeah,
actually answered a couple of my questions there over the time.
no,
Um, yeah, so I use the Facebook Family Book Creator one as well. Yeah,
yeah.
but you need to do it, otherwise you don't know what to ask, do you?
Oh yeah, that is because, like I
Mm,
said, because because it's like how it's well, even between my main tree and then say like this Dunn County one, how I do stuff is different,
yeah,
and so the books I need do for these are different,
yeah,
uh, because like with this Dunn County, well, I'm the president and librarian for a local Dunn County Genealogy Society.
right,
And so likewise, any research I do, I just put in this one tree, and occasionally we can find uh, hookups to other research that's been done. Um, but that these reports I write, these are fully sourced and everything like that, and here I will print out the census images and everything else like that.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but for my main book, it's like no, I don't, and the family books I do create, I'll create two of them because the vast majority of my people don't care about the sources.
no,
They want to see the pictures, they want to see the
yeah,
stories, read the
yeah,
stories. They
yeah,
could care less where they could find the 1940 census, or
no,
where they can get this marriage certificate or birth
yeah.
certificate.
Yeah, they're not going to check it either. Like many people on ancestry trees, they don't check anything.
Yeah. Yeah,
So you end up
I
in a big
learned
mess.
that real early because it's like when I first did, it's like, okay, I did this 2 week free trial, and then here is getting like the last week. Oh, you know what? I better just make full use of this, and let me just see how far back I can get. Oh man, merging people's tree. Oh wow, this is great.
Yeah, it's great.
After a
You
while, here I was
realise it's
looking
all.
at these people. It's like, okay, this person's got parents that were born after they were by like 100 years.
yeah,
And
it's
then they
pretty
got
good, isn't
children that were born
it?
200 years before they were. It's like, what? It's like,
Or they have two wives the same name, like it's the same person, but there's two marriages, and then so then their siblings become half siblings. You know, the
yeah,
children become half siblings to each other, and you think, what? How does that
yeah.
work?
So
So
fortunately, I
frustrating. You look
learned
at it and
that.
think, oh God, I can't stand it.
Yeah, I learned that real early because it's like once I found that, it's like, okay, I just deleted everything. I went back to the original tree that was given to me, and
Yeah.
okay, I better check out this. I'll look at other trees, but only as a hint. It's like and see,
Yeah.
okay, do they have sources to prove this? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, well,
No. You see, 1,000 people in my tree and no sources. No, I don't think I'll worry about that one.
yeah,
But sometimes they do have a source that's actually quite useful. But
yeah,
sometimes they don't read. Sometimes they don't read the source, so it doesn't actually correspond with. It negates what they've got in their tree. But so they obviously haven't read it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like I'll always look at the source image because stuff's transcribed wrong, and it's like,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, there's an example of mine. I mean, it's a Scottish example, but my great grandfather married twice, and his first wife, everybody thinks, and all the ancestry trees say she came from Staffordshire in England. And then I was looking at all these trees that all said the same thing, and then one of them had a newspaper cutting announcing her death, and it said, gave her name and her father's name, and said, James Gibson, her father, a farmer of Mains Hill, and it was published in an Edinburgh newspaper. I thought, well, how on earth would she come from Staffordshire if her
yeah,
father's Scottish and puts her name in a Scottish newspaper? Puts her death notice in a Scottish newspaper. She must have come from Scotland if she
yeah,
did. And she did. She did come from Scotland. She came from
yeah,
where her husband came from, which seemed logical. They obviously knew each other in Scotland before they both went to South Australia.
yeah,
Because they got married, only a few weeks after she arrived. So they would have known each other beforehand. So it all made sense, much, much more sense than the Staffordshire one did. And so this person put up this newspaper cutting, but obviously didn't read it or evaluate it or anything. It's
yeah,
very handy to me.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's like always read the stuff, and
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
actually,
it's like, oh, go
one
ahead.
thing I do want to ask you, I use the research notes in Family Tree Maker to write down, what I found out and all this sort of stuff, just sort of notes to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I want to write a story about, say, Elizabeth Poland here, say I've, found out a lot more about her and want to write a paragraph, would I put that in the person notes and then publish that in the book?
Yeah, I would put that in the person notes area.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you'd want to like embellish it more and maybe add some
yeah,
custom photos or something,
yeah,
you could do
right,
that as like you could also do that as a Word document, so you could
mhm,
type it up in a Word document and then
yeah,
the media where you would want it.
yeah,
Uh,
okay,
but
yeah,
that's only if you'd rather have it with the story,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, I see. Yeah,
maybe otherwise, yeah, I just put it in the person notes area. So,
yeah, yeah, because I've got a few stories now. I've joined a writing group here,
no.
and I've only moved up to Queensland in the last 4 or 5 years. So I've joined a writing group at our local history and genealogy society. So that makes you write a story every month, which is really good for you,
Yeah.
because otherwise you never get around to doing it. And so I could put those into the person notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Just, yeah. Person notes are great because
yeah,
that's where I'll put like, if I have a transcribed obituary, I'll put that in there, in the
yeah,
person notes. It's just, for me, that's just easier. So,
yeah.
um, if I have the
Mhm,
newspaper clipping, then I'll just put that in the media.
mhm,
And
yeah,
sometimes I'll do both, but if I have the transcribed obituary, then I
mhm,
probably won't print out uh the actual photo scan of the obituary. Or if I do, I won't maybe necessarily make it full page or something, so
Yeah.
it won't
Yeah.
take as much room. But
Yeah.
so
I noticed down here on this page you're showing, you've got DNA as one of your facts there. What do you put in there?
well, this is mainly for with Charting Companion.
All right.
Well, here, let me load up my tree. Because it's for use with making the McGuire charts and doing using the DNA simulator.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, now this is gonna take a while. Let me yeah, once in a while it takes a while, but well, here, let me charts. Yeah, because you can get
Oh my God. It's
a
amazing.
chart like this, and then let me just zoom in. But basically, yeah. So basically, then there's lines that draw down and then show, okay,
Oh, I see. So
here's
that's
how much
another thing.
DNA they share, and okay,
I
this
see Senator Morgan's down there. Oh, I see.
granddaughter, and
Wow, that's amazing.
so Sarah there is the granddaughter of
Yep.
Leo,
Yep.
and here's how much DNA they share, and then
Yeah, I see. Wow.
Leo, then okay, he shares 981 with, or no, that's Sarah
Yep.
is a first cousin to Preston here,
Yep.
So this is what like a McGuire chart is. It just
Oh, I
draws
see.
online. Here are all the people, they've taken,
Yep.
and here's how much DNA they share with each other.
Mm. We've
Uh,
got some. We've got some Halversons living near us. Actually, I think he's one of the councillors in the Noosa Council.
yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't know if you've done any Scandinavian research and Halversons, but they aren't really no, that just means son of Halvor, and stuff like that. So
Right. Yeah.
here's my mom, so here's how it like Ancestry knows her. So it's this number. And then I've got a utility to download my matches. And oh no, I don't your documents. So it's like yeah, here's couldn't see me. But basically this is just a list of saying, okay, so here's my mom. See, that's her ID there. That's C51.
Right.
See, that matches up with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then how well, and this is my match file. So yeah, so here's this number is all the same. See,
Yeah.
this is
Awesome.
how Ancestry knows me. So for me, I've got a DNA fact with this number on it. So
Right.
for my mom, I've got that one. Lori's my sister. That's her number. Dawn, brother Kurt,
Right.
niece Miranda, niece Echo. Here's my Uncle
Yeah.
Bob, my Aunt Sue. That Shirley is a first cousin
Yeah.
of my dad's. That Mary is a first cousin of my mom. Sharon is a first cousin of my mom's. And
All right. So you talked all them into getting tested, did you?
yeah, Mary and Sharon are first cousin. Evelyn's a great aunt to me, my mom's aunt,
Yeah.
Sylvia, so basically all down to this Julie right here. This is the first person, highest patch. I don't know who this person is,
All right. Oh, okay.
but I do have her in my tree as a floating tree.
Hmm.
And then I run a DNA simulator, and it's like, okay, she's not from my grandfather, but she's from a sibling of my grandfather.
Right.
That's as far as it's been, but he had like 10 siblings.
All right. Okay. There's plenty of
So
scope there
okay,
then.
well, so that's only 9 families I'd have to research, and
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it- and I've contacted this person. They haven't contacted me back. It's
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
for all I know, who
Mm.
knows? People do it but you
Yeah.
create a match
Yeah.
file. You have to do tie these match numbers to that, and then here's how much DNA we share.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what the McGuire chart does, and then the DNA simulator works um,
Yeah. You've got a
and
lot of
can
high
kind of
numbers.
start placing where they might fit into your tree. But
Yeah.
that
You've
will
got a
be
lot
doing.
of.
I'm doing 2 charting companion groups. As a matter of fact, the Q&As. As a matter of fact, the charting companion one is gonna be starting about an hour and a half. Otherwise, there's one well later in the afternoon for me, which is I don't know for it's. Are you in like about like the same time zone as Sydney?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so I think it'd probably be about 7 a.m. your time is the last charting companion class, so or Q&A
Right.
for
Yeah.
today, or well, tomorrow, I guess it's so.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Okay. Well, I won't take up any more of your time, John. I appreciate you spending time with me.
yeah, no problem. So
Yeah.
okay,
You,
well, I'm gonna
yeah. You've inspired me to get on and do something.
yeah.
So, and then I'll come back
Thanks.
with more questions.
Oh yeah, just ask in the group, because
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
they're there for, and
Yeah.
and lots of knowledgeable people there. Stefan will come on occasionally.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
Stefan does do this, but unfortunately he's unavailable today. He let me know that last night, and so, but
Right. Yeah.
otherwise, so.
Yeah.
But,
Okay
well,
then. Thank